Hello everyone, welcome back to the Blue Who Review. Today I'm going to be talking about the underrated peak of Doctor Who. Now, I feel like this era is just so overlooked. I really do feel like it's a hidden gem in Doctor Who. Now, this is no way like, saying that the Series 4 era is, not a peak of Doctor Who and isn't a peak at all or is really bad. It's just that this is another underrated peak. I really do feel like this era of the show I'm going to be talking about is really good, and I just feel like because of what come just before it, it's sort of overlooked, but it is such a good era of the show. And if you haven't seen already, if and hopefully when I hit 250 subscribers, I'm launching my own Doctor Who version of Truth or Dare called Truth or Consequences. We've already had some really great ones come in, so if you'd like to see that video happen, then make sure you're subscribed. And also, comment some of your own Truth or Dares in the comments of the video. I'll put the link in the description, because I've already had some really great ones. I'd love to get some more, so thank you for that. Great, and without no further ado, let's get into why I feel like this era of the show is an underrated peak. From his announcement, Matt Smith was faced with the doubt as to whether he was the right fit, on top of the mountainous challenge of keeping Doctor Who alive and keeping it in the public eye after the highly rated RTD era, which revived Who from the dead. Leaked audio footage from Victory of the Daleks further fueled the fire of fans and critics believing his casting was a mistake.
I take you back into the void. I saved the whole of reality from you. I am the Doctor, and you are the Daleks!
As well as his first interview in Doctor Who Confidential coming under fire for his use of the word flabbergasted, despite only using it twice.
I'm flabbergasted. I haven't slept, really, to be honest. Well, he was rather flabbergasted. He sort of laughed, really.
Despite the uncertainty surrounding his casting and how good he'd be compared to the legendary performance of David Tennant, it's safe to say from the off, he won the hearts of most of the fans and almost immediately felt like the Doctor, helped by moments littered throughout Series 5 where he excels at the I am the Doctor moments, such as the 11th hour confronting the Atraxi, the Time of the Angels trap cliffhanger, and the Pandorica opens I am talking moment. Continuing on to Series 6 with confronting the silence, saying goodbye to Idris and the vast majority of A Good Man Goes to War. With his first episode reaching over 10 million views, his performance helped breathe new life into the show, balancing perfectly his childlike side with his intelligent side. He gave an incredibly believable performance that you did genuinely think he was an alien aged 900 years old who acts like a 9-year-old. His quirky and eccentric dress sense also became just as iconic as he was. It wasn't only the bow ties and feathers he made cool, it was also the tweed jacket he wore in Series 5 and Series 6. Him standing out through the series helped boost forecast sales of Harris tweed jackets by nearly a third. Fish fingers and custard also became an instant must-try for all fans and general viewers due to the unusual pairing, with Matt Smith being given a year's supply of fish fingers from Birdseye for the 50th anniversary to celebrate. From the get-go, he had iconic things about his Doctor established from his very first episode, helping these things to become instantly recognisable to Doctor Who. My best friend and skeptic of how the 11th Doctor, his era, and his first episode would be, the Oliverse, enjoyed it so much, the 11th hour till this day is his favourite out of the entirety of New Who, a clear demonstration to how powerfully it was written and performed. But it wasn't just Matt Smith who was brilliant casting. Karen Gillan, played by Amy Pond, was too. She fitted the 11th Doctor perfectly, as both of their lives hugely entwined in each other's, with 11 popping up all throughout Amy's life and Amy being the first face that face saw. Her feisty bravery and sharp wit made her an instant success after also having to battle keeping up the high standards set by the previous companion Donna Noble, being what was fair to say an unknown to a household name within just a few years. She had appeared in Doctor Who in the previous series as a completely different character, but even then she was still unknown to the everyday viewer and some hardcore fans of the show. Now it's fair to say she's probably the most successful and well-known companion of all time, with her having the most followers out of any companion on Instagram ever, with 8.1 million followers. Having appeared in Avengers Endgame, Jumanji, and Guardians of the Galaxy to name a few. It has also been said to her and by her she got many of her roles outside of Doctor Who due to her portrayal of Amy Pond, with her even saying recently on a post from Stephen Moffat, the day she was announced was when it all changed for her. This can also be said for Matt Smith, as Ryan Gosling heard Matt Smith in the Stonehenge scene shouting at the spaceships, which is what got Matt Smith the role, as Ryan Gosling was impressed so much with his performance, having to do that to what really wasn't there. As well as appearing in Lost River by Ryan Gosling, he appeared in Patient Zero, Morbius and The Crown. This is one key example of how well they portrayed the roles and proof of how successful that era was, for this to have become the springboard for their careers that it did. Moffat was also a key player in the success of the era, having been the showrunner. He was the obvious and right choice, having written some of the strongest and most popular episodes of the New Who era, including The Empty Child / The Doctor Dances and Blink. His fairy tale style of the show was a new take on the sci-fi world, which still felt both real and relatable, with some of the most famous and well-loved of his era being written by him, including The 11th Hour and The Impossible Astronaut / Day of the Moon. He was also behind the story arc of Series 5 being The Crack in the Wall, which popped up in almost every episode, which built up to the epic finale. But it wasn't just The Crack in the Wall which was a great built-up mystery, it was also the silence, the Doctor's name, and who River Song was. All questions which spanned several series, making them all the more important, building up to the hype for the answers. With River Song cleverly being placed into the RTD era, with Moffat knowing he would be taking over the following series. Rory Williams, played by Arthur Darvill, should also not be forgotten in playing an integral role in how successful this era of the show was. He was likeable, insecure, and foolish, who went on to become brave, heroic, and still likeable. His character development was clear, and the relationship between Amy and Rory, despite a few hiccups that everyone wishes never happened, was beautiful, believable, all the way through. Through thick and thin, Amy always wanted Rory, and Rory always wanted Amy. Even though the 11th Doctor came crashing into Amy's life, dazzling her, she still chose him right to the end, even when it looked like it was all over. The dynamic between the three, with Amy being introduced properly first, and then Rory later on, was a great way for us to get to know the characters and build up to a relationship with them. They all bounce off each other extremely well, and their strong relationships off-screen reflected well on-screen. This strong bond between the three made for some truly phenomenal scenes and stories, elevated when the mysterious bad girl River Song was on the scene too, making an unusual family unit that fans could somehow relate to and enjoy, which helped all the more to make the tragic ending in The Angels Take Manhattan, where we say goodbye to Amy and Rory, so heartbreaking. The music scores by Maury Gold are also thought by many to be some of the best the show has ever produced in this era, with the most popular being I Am the Doctor. It was this score that helped to make the Coming Soon trailer at the end of the 11th hour so epic and exciting, keeping viewers switched on all through the series. It was also this era which helped to produce what I believe is the best teaser the show has ever created, which was released on the 20th of February and was in 3D for cinemas. To this day, it still fills me with excitement, and I can still remember what I first thought about this teaser, in which I cannot with any other that Doctor has ever created. Not only did they produce the best teaser of all time, but the best game. Even now, the only Doctor Who game I play regularly is the Adventure games. Without a doubt, this is the best game the show has ever produced. Exciting, entertaining, fun, and even educational, with my personal favourite being the Gunpowder Plot, which every year without fail I play to mark the occasion. It is unlikely the show will ever recreate a game based on the show, which will capture the many ideas, entertainment, and possibility the Adventure games did. These are in desperate need of a revival. An increase in budget furthermore helped the era of the show, as thrilling scenes, such as when the TARDIS almost crashes into Big Ben and is exploding over London, was only added because of and after the increase of budget. Stephen Moffat also made the correct move of making his era like a soft reboot, with a brand new TARDIS sequence, TARDIS exterior and interior, and new Dalek design, amongst other things, all giving the show the refresh that it needed to stay new and exciting. Looking back at the early 2010s era, it can be seen how much this era impacted British culture and beyond. Starting with beyond the UK, this era was when Doctor Who blew up in America according to Alex Kingston, and it's no surprise why, reflected in Doctor Who by the choice for the opening of the two-parter of Series 6's location and event it was surrounding. Back in the UK, on the 20th of February 2011, the Doctor Who Experience was opened, and later on Doctor Who made its second appearance at BBC at the Proms, which were a showcase of the popularity of the era. It was also this era of the show's many strengths which helped birth the Super Who-Lot community, 2 or 3 being created by Stephen Moffat, a sign of his strong writing skills at the time. Famous YouTubers of the time were also proven to be keen on this era, as can be seen with Daniel Howe, formerly known as Dan Is Not On Fire, dressing as the 11th Doctor for I Can't Even Geek Week special, surrounded by other fans of the show. Doctor Who's popularity of the time even stretched as far as making a huge appearance at Glastonbury Festival in 2010, being the last song of the evening. Orbital did their own version of the theme tune, with not only Matt Smith making an appearance, but also using the Sonic and giving a short performance on stage. It is a must-watch if you have never seen it before, and even if you have. All testaments to how much the era of the show was loved and adored globally. In conclusion, when taking all these factors into account, the strong performances, epic music scores, iconic styles and moments, fantastic casting, thrilling story arcs, bombastic title sequence, and many more, I believe this is the overlooked peak of the New Who era, with so many rewatchable episodes which are still as enjoyable as when they first aired. This is an era which can be enjoyed over and over again. Let's just hope one day for a return of this peak and a return of the awesome trio. And that's my thoughts on why I feel like this is the underrated peak of Doctor Who. Let me know what your thoughts are on this era and whether you agree or not. I generally do feel like this era of the show was just so good and such an underrated peak which is overlooked. It generally is really good, and I've been binging so many episodes recently of this era. It's just so enjoyable. And even when I was young, when it first came out, because I was still so excited over David Tennant and feel like his era was the best, I did generally be one of those people who overlooked this peak. But looking back, this was such a great time of the show, and I wish I could go back to it. It's just so incredible. But yeah, let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and let me know if you feel like this is an underrated peak of the show, or if you have any other ones that you think is an underrated peak of the show. I'd love to hear them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully see my next video soon. Thank you everyone, take care.